Hello everyone and welcome back to what is potentially said to be the final dugout of 2025. What a weird year it's been. I can't say that much because I only came back towards the fag end of 2025, but still, it has been a very interesting year in the world of sport. A lot of stuff happened, a lot of hits, and also just as many misses. And that's the thing we're here to discuss today. We're here to discuss the big misses of sport, particularly with a focus on Indian sport and Indian cricket.
Yeah.
Because that's where our focus is a lot of the time, truth be told. We know that's how it is. So we're going to talk about the biggest misses of 2025. And contrary to popular belief, there were a fair few. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, we've won the Champions Trophy. We won the Asia Cup. What could the misses possibly be? Well, worry not. That's what we're here for.
You missed out on a place in the WTC final to begin with.
Yeah, true.
That also was a possibility at the start of the year. But of course, our focus is going to be a lot about the misses in Indian cricket. But since so many of you are just sports buffs in general and not just take interest in cricket, as is the case with Shane and me also, what we'll do is we will touch upon some instances in other sport as well. But that'll be right towards the end. We want to dedicate much of the time talking just about the misses, what could have been, what perhaps should have been for Indian cricket, for certain franchises, for the Indian team. We'll talk about all of those things. But before that, as is the norm over here, plenty of stuff happening, even though it's the business. It's actually just the end of the calendar year. It's not the business end of the sporting for the sporting community per se, but there's still news trickling in. There's always news around, right, Shane?
Exactly. There's so much stuff going on. I mean, see, you've got your own embattled head coach Gautam Gambhir get not one but two very public endorsements in recent times. If we thought after the Lakshman rumor that the board secretary giving him an endorsement was one thing, now the vice president has come out and said exactly the same thing, that no, these are just baseless rumors. Don't talk about it.
And let's be honest, were we ever expecting there to be a different tune within the BCCI? No, you expect the BCCI to be singing to the same tune. And once, Devjit Saikia had come and banished those rumors, when the mic was placed in front of Rajiv Shukla, I was expecting much the same. I wasn't expecting anything different. Also, when was the last time the BCCI ever told us things very clearly about what it may be up to? Has the BCCI ever been that transparent? No, it's
not
possibly
in my professional memory, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
I of course, we both came into the industry pretty much, I think, at the same time. 17, right?
Yeah.
So that's when my career started as well. So I remember the days of the COA. That's my
committee of administrators.
Yeah, and that was the time really where this, sources close to the COA and sources close to BCCI, I think, really began. Obviously, COA is long since gone, but that legacy lives on.
Yeah,
it really lives on. So I didn't expect anything much there. No surprises whatsoever. But I mean, other than that, you've also seen Gautam Gambhir get some interesting advice from a former England international who's basically told him, go and coach a Ranji team or speak to Ranji coaches. Of course, talking about Monty PANESAR.
Yeah, he said a fair few things in that interview. We've done dedicated stories, in fact, on that. But on that subject, endorsement plus some snide remarks towards Gautam Gambhir, he really seems to be the man getting all the headlines towards the end of the year. On our show as well, Gautam Gambhir getting a big mention yesterday. In fact, unfortunate that because the technical snag we couldn't. But yesterday too, he would have gotten a fair few mentions. But today as well, it's good in a way that it's not the burning issue right now because you've got a good distraction in the T20 World Cup coming up and things have been rather okay in white ball cricket for the Indian team. Red ball though, and that perhaps could be the starting point for us to talk about the misses as well. Red ball, there's been a problem, and those problems started perhaps at the start of the year.
Correct. I mean, your implosion began with, of course, the BGT. You lost badly there.
Yeah.
I remember all the things happening, the inquest and Mr. Fix-It and all of that. But I think that takes you then forward to, if you fast forward through the year, you go to when it is you played your next test series proper. It was, of course, June, July.
Yeah.
You had the England series. And perhaps, I think your biggest miss that you're talking about to start off with, and you can see the image on your screen right now, it is... man, that heartbreak applause. Oh my God.
That image, I'm not sure if we should have pulled out this image because this can just be a dagger through the hearts of so many people joining us and who will be watching this later. This one moment changed, of course, the storyline of that particular series and historically as well. people would have seen things so differently if this result had gone India's way. And India was just wafer thin away. That margin of loss was just wafer thin. And so much about the India-England rivalry going forward could have altered if you had registered. You were still looking at a historic series when you came very close in 21-22. This time again 2-2. Perhaps you'd feel on flat decks, an England side without a Broad and an Anderson, this was to be India's best chance. There were some who called it a team in transition. There were others who said, no boss, that's not happening. Look at the kind of experience that this side has. It's only a minority opinion to have to call this side, but it was also Shubman Gill's first time as Test captain. He got a lot of runs. It was a memorable tour for him. We were talking about him. Speaking of misses, perhaps him missing out on Sunnyji's record also could be one of the misses of this year. But on the bigger picture, if we are to comment on, yes, it was lost opportunity for India, and in galore, I would say. There were a galore of opportunities that India lost. They had no right, I think, losing the first test match as well. When you scored 800 plus odd runs, 835 if memory serves me right, Leeds, you just should not have lost that particular test match. It should have been a draw given the featherweight that you got, and this whole series, because these were not typical English conditions. That's the for you and I, let's say, since you talked about the time that we started covering, and just going further back, the time that you and I possibly started consuming the sport as well. This is not the England wicket or the kind of England wickets that we have been used to over all these years. This flatbed that you saw in England, which has been the thing in England in Test cricket for about a year, 2 years now, this was to be India's best chance to play in conditions which are not too different from how you play at home, which is also criticism of the domestic situation here on home turf, that tracks are getting too flat. That debate was up in this first round of VHT as well, when everyone's scoring runs, 40 ball hundreds being scored and whatnot. So these were to be India's conditions. These were to be conditions in which Indian batters should have revelled.
Exactly.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, and it's not just that. I mean, if you look at the English bowling as well, it didn't really inspire a lot of confidence. I mean, I'm a big fan of Ben Stokes, the all-rounder, but if he was their best bowler across the series...
He was the best bowler across the two teams, in fact.
Yeah, and best bowler across the two teams, having missed one test match, mind you, having missed the final test match. All of that kept in mind, how is it that you did not get a test series win here is beyond me. Because again, I know it's a team in transition and this and that, but this is probably the weakest England team I've seen in forever. And you know, England teams could be really bad abroad, but they were usually very strong at home. This England team, though, felt like they were there for the taking. If your best bowlers are Ben Stokes, and after that you've got your basically alternating between Bryden Cars, Josh Tongue, Shoaib Bashir, I'm sorry, that's not really a good bowling lineup by any stretch of the imagination. And your batters did well. I don't know where it is that they missed out personally. I think, at times the bowling could have been better maybe, but you always knew that you only had a Bumrah available for 3 tests. That was always going to be the thing. So I think it is a mixture of course, perhaps maybe the bowling at times struggling, losing composure in key moments like you did at Lords, even Leeds for that matter. I mean, how often is it that you hear of teams scoring 800 runs across innings and then being on the losing side? It's rare. But that's exactly what happened. And I think, I know people celebrated the result. And I think a lot of us also got carried up in that because, again, what looked like it could have been a 3-1 ended up becoming a 2-2. So you celebrated that. But the fact of the matter is, it was still a missed opportunity, I feel. I think you did miss an opportunity. Perhaps your best to get a test series win in England. And see, people always talk about that, but you beat a weak team. My point is, who cares? Does anyone, when you talk about, why is it that India celebrate the back-to-back series wins in Australia? I mean, when you won it in 2018-19, there was no Smith and Warner. The best batter in that particular team was Pat Cummins. As Sunnyji jokingly consistently pointed out in commentary. My point is that no one really cares about that anymore. Everyone remembers the fact that, boss, you had back-to-back series wins down under. That rarely happens. You could have done it this time around as well. Who cares if it was the weakest team they fielded? This was their team on their turf, on their conditions, and you still couldn't get it. A 2-2 was the best you could do. It's a series lost for India as much as anything else, if you ask me. A series win opportunity just up in smoke.
Okay, so that definitely we're in agreement over there. Definitely one of the biggest misses. In fact, why don't you guys keep us engaged with your comments as well? Because I'm sure while Shane and I have tried to put our heads together and come up with some of the misses, we'd love to know what, according to you, are the big misses. But let's now move to the other big miss.
I mean, let's continue with Test series, right? Don't you think that losing to South Africa at home was yet another miss? Because if you ask me, why, not only is that a big miss in terms of, again, you failed to stamp your authority at home, but you are pretty much done now as far as the WTC cycle is concerned. And those 2 test matches pretty much consigned you to that.
See, India's loss against South Africa, Shane, has to be the biggest blot, I would say. You probably will forget whatever had happened prior to that, forget what happened in the BGT, forget what happened in England, but that South Africa series has to be one of the big blots for Indian cricket, not just Test cricket, but the lowest point perhaps to have happened to Indian cricket the whole of this year has to be the Test series loss against South Africa. Nobody saw that coming. Yes, you could go ahead and argue that the margin of defeat wasn't that big in the first Test match and you were playing with only 9 batters because Shubman Gill got that spasm. But I'm sorry, you were beaten hands down, black and blue. In fact, you were beaten in the second Test match in Guwahati, if memory serves me right. And clearly the better team won. And if I've already seen what had happened, if I already have knowledge of what happened last year against New Zealand, and then there's another visiting team comes ahead and registers its first Test series win in India in 25 years. Clearly there is a problem if there's a team losing twice. What once used to be a rarity has now become a consistent phenomena, which is visiting teams winning against India in India. That's never a good sign. And Gautam Gambhir is going to be feeling rather easy, as I said earlier as well, at the moment, because if you were engaged in another Test series right now, the conversation around Indian cricket would have been much more pressing and the issues would have been much more burning. Now you've got a very good distraction in the T20 World Cup coming up. You have a very good distraction in the fact that you're doing fine in ODIs, although you've lost 2 ODI series as well in the course of the last 1 year. However, T20s has kept you afloat, has kept you in good spirit, I would say. Some issues there as well, but you've won series and that's what matters at the end of the day. You came very close at the moment against South Africa as well, where that series also could have been all square because that one match, we know what happened. That match could not happen because of fog in, or should I say smog? Yeah, everyone knows it was smog. Yeah. So yeah, but things have been fine on the T20 front. So that's where there is some sort of escaping for Indian cricket, and Gautam Gambhir, the skipper as well, in Shubman Gill gets flack, has to get flack for where Test cricket. But again, perhaps more on the coach than the skipper, because it's a young skipper. You're trying to build for the future. That's a future prospect you're looking at, and it's work in progress, Shubman Gill.
Absolutely. And I think the other reason you have to also remember why it is that the coach is tending to get more flack is because A, this is a head coach who's clearly stamped his authority on the team, and B, if you're looking at the reasons why it is that the Test team is failing as much as anything else, it's this obsession with specialists, or this lack of obsession with specialists and obsession with all-rounders that is working in ODI and T20 cricket, but is not working in Test cricket, because Test cricket is not that format where you need all-rounders galore. Unless you have Jacques Kallis level all-rounders, I'm sorry, then those are the kind of all-rounders who can walk into any team as both a batter and a bowler. In Test cricket, you can't have bits and pieces players. That's a fact. The fact is, this team also is obsessed with bits and pieces players and trying to put in the batting depth, and therefore that's why I think Gambhir gets a lot of the flack. And you're right, if the Test series against Sri Lanka was happening now rather than in June, July of next year, then there'd be a lot more focus on it, because you'd be saying, oh man, you've lost a 2-match Test series at home, now you've got a 2-match Test series away where you know that Sri Lanka will serve you spinning decks because they can see that you aren't able to play on spinning decks. And whilst you might have bowlers who can exploit that, you don't have batters who can actually tough it out.
I 100% agree that has been another big miss, I would say. I know we've touched upon the macro issues, but if you're just going to be, if one was to pick up the magnifying glass and look at these troubles for Indian cricket or the misses, you'd see that there are a lot of these troubles under the magnifying glass, you'll see. And one of them has to be the fact that your batters have forgotten the art of playing spin. You thought in Guwahati things would, get better, but it was again the same thing. No, nothing learned from in fact, the previous series that you played against New Zealand. I don't know what gave this Indian team the confidence that they have the kind of side to play quality spin. And let's not forget, staying with the same series, there's a Muthuswamy who didn't play the first test match. He played in the second, bowled less, batted more, scored a century, a very crafty century, must I say. Looking at our batters, that craft of playing spin, using your feet, because the confidence is not there. We know when you lack that trust in your forward defense is when you stop using your feet and you're not willing to dance down the track. That skill's gone. I think we've seen 2 series, we've seen 5 matches now. In fact, I'll say 4, because Bengaluru, New Zealand was a bouncy deck, which also took this team by surprise. But clearly the art of playing spin has also gone amiss.
Absolutely. And again, I think this is something that will come back more into focus, as I'm saying, once you reach the next leg of your WTC cycle, because you've played 3 test series, you've drawn against England, you lost to South Africa, and you beat West Indies, which, let's be fair, everyone expected. But you've got 3 very tricky test series coming up: Sri Lanka away, New Zealand away, and then Australia at home, which is why I say pretty much that we're done and dusted as far as the WTC, because let's assume for 1 second you can get good results in Sri Lanka and New Zealand. Are you getting 5-0
against? Exactly. Australia going to be that. I think that is going to be the last series, or definitely the last marquee series in the end.
The last series.
It's the last series as well. So yeah, is a 5-0 really happening?
It's not.
It's not.
That's the
thing. Just not.
You've really ruined your WTC by giving away 3 wins against England, because I'm counting the draw as a match lost. Again, you get far more points for a win than you do a draw. And then, of course, losing to South Africa 2-0, that's really dented you big time. But again, speaking more on misses, and again, there are a lot of misses if you're talking about India. Let's talk about one thing which a lot of people don't seem to be talking about enough anymore. What happened to our Asia Cup trophy? Hasn't that gone missing?
Well,
it's not really missing, but it's missing from India's trophy cabinet, where it should be, but it isn't.
See, what wasn't missing from that final, Shane, was the celebration. I think the celebrations definitely went on. So the celebrations weren't a miss. Yeah, the trophy continues to be a miss. We were told so many things about the issue being taken to the ICC or direct appeals being made to the ACC.
Nothing doing.
Nothing's happened till now. And yeah, what we do have as things stand is just those happy memories. The trophy is not there. By the way, how can I forget? We saw the trophy. It's not like we haven't seen the trophy after the final. We've put up that story on Sports Today. Remember, correct? There was a visit from one of our reporters to the ACC office, and we did see the trophy there. Unfortunate that the trophy hasn't come home.
But I think if we're talking about the Asia Cup, right? We're talking about the trophy missing, and obviously that's a bit of a joke. But the one thing which is no laughing matter, Surya Kumar Yadav.
That's also gone missing, by the way.
The runs have really dried up. Yeah. And it is, I think, probably India's biggest concern. I would have said having him and Gill in the same team would have been your biggest concern. But you've taken care of the Gill problem by dropping him. But can you drop your captain? You can't. Yet that also takes you with the very obvious thing that you're carrying an underperforming captain into a tournament that you are one of the favourites to win. Yeah. That's big pressure. Let's make no bones about it.
If Surya Kumar Yadav by the end of the year is averaging less than 14 or just about 14, 13, something like that strike rate for a man who comes in with the reputation of upping the ante and making 180 strike rate look easy to achieve, his strike rate for the year is somewhere close to 120. Exactly. Those are woefully bad numbers. And we talked about the Asia Cup just a short while back, and I remember being in the studio saying that I'm not too worried in the Asia Cup because those runs had stopped coming even then. I was like, no, let's give it time. It's only the halfway stage of the year. You're still playing more T20 cricket. You played T20 cricket against South Africa. You played T20 cricket against Australia. The runs didn't come in both those series. In fact, there's, I think, just about a 46 that happens to be his highest score this whole year.
No 50s.
Too many. No 50, Shane, in more than a year now. He's gone, I think, 23 innings or 24 innings without scoring a single half century in.
And this 40 plus scores have only been 2. That in itself tells you I would be okay with no 50s if he's got like say 25 innings, for example, out of which they're like 15, 16 where he's gotten 40 plus scores.
You take that. I think this is exactly what this team demands as well.
I'll take that. The problem is there's only been 240 plus scores. The strike rate is way down. Let's not even talk about the average. And as we've done dissecting, is that he's got a painfully obvious problem right now against pace bowling.
Yeah.
With pace bowling, they'll just keep pitching it up and he'll keep going for that shot.
Absolutely.
The trigger movement, I don't know what it is. I think it's the trigger movement where he's moving too fast, but his timing is just gone. And that's a worrisome sign because I remember you're talking about players with touch and timing. I remember how bad Virender Sehwag looked towards the end of his career.
LBW after LBW.
The touch timing, hand-eye coordination, all gone.
All gone.
That's my worry with Sky because again, 35-year-old player.
He scored his last 50 against Bangladesh in 12 October 2024.
There we go. 2024 October was the last time that Sky got a 50 and it was against Bangladesh. So that in itself tells you where it is that Sky the batter is, and I think that's a big concern. He still does have a 5-match T20I series against New Zealand.
Last
Maybe
opportunity.
find some form, but
It's see, you the Indian team, you're looking that as dress rehearsal. It's the last assignment before the T20 World Cup title defense begins. I'm worried for him because never a good sign. The only good thing that comes out of this is that India still have a match-winning unit.
Yeah.
That's the bright spot, because if India are to not retain the title, or if it's an early exit, and even a semi-final at the moment is going to be a bit of an early exit for this Indian team, you have to make it to the final. The daggers are already out for Surya with age, everything kept in mind, no form. Then what should not be said at the moment will be exactly what will happen with Surya Kumar Yadav.
the Rohit Sharma could be win an ICC tournament.
But
Could very well be.
sticking with T20 cricket, I think there's more that we can dwell into. And I just want to take the attention now to the IPL. There is one team, we're talking about India upping the ante. There is one team that really entertained us with a lot of runs, gave us possibly a new number 4, but there wasn't unfortunately a place for him in the Indian side. Shreyas Iyer upping the ante, really came out all guns blazing in this edition of the IPL. No place for him in the T20 squad later on, as we saw in the Asia Cup. We were all hoping that perhaps, but yeah, you couldn't have fit him in. But his team as well really changed the face and the fortune of the franchise. First time around, he's captaining, and he's just turned the fortunes of the franchise on its head.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, prior to 2025, Punjab Kings were that franchise who last made it to the playoffs in 2014, which was also the last time they'd ever made it to a final.
Yeah.
After that, they spent 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's 6 plus 10 years. 10
Sixth
years
place.
that's without even making it to the playoffs. Never mind the final. So when they do it in style. And let's be honest, if you had asked me mano, man for man, I'd say they were the stronger team than RCB.
Yeah.
But I do think that RCB were pulled by a collective will, because unfortunately for them, they've garnered the reputation of being the biggest bottle jobs in the IPL. A team that would always reach close or could reach close, but then at the final hurdle would end up falling short. And I think it was that collective will that dragged them over the line. With Punjab, yeah, but it's still a missed opportunity, because I do think, as I said, man for man, that team was stacked. Not just a Shreyas Iyer, they had a Joss Inglis, a Marcus Stoinis. The bowling was phenomenal. There's a Yuzi Chahal there, Arshdeep was there, Vijay Kumar Vishak was a revelation for them, but it just didn't click in the final. And of course, see, it gave RCB fans the long-awaited first title. There's no denying that. That wasn't a miss for them. Big hit.
Yeah.
Less said about what happened thereafter, the better. But exactly. But I mean, what it is though is a big miss for Punjab Kings, because again, I do think this was perhaps their best chance. I know in 2014 also, I remember that squad. They had a very good squad. And again, even that final, if I had to pick out players in that team, 2014, man for man, if I have to pick players that they had, I would say they had a better team than KKR, individually speaking.
Yeah.
The thing with the KKR team though is that they gelled together very well.
Yeah.
And so as a team performance, they did better. Same thing happened to Punjab Kings this time around in 25. So bit unfortunate, sure. But see, I think they've got a very good team. And they didn't need to make too many additions in this year's IPL auction either. I think with the team they have, they should be playoff contenders. Again, at the very minimum.
Yeah.
Bare minimum.
They're very strong outfit. Remember, there wasn't any activity or much activity from them in the auction this time around, and we were all taken by surprise for a team that had the reputation of having the biggest purse and being the most active on auction day. Didn't know what to do. They were busy killing. They were busy just passing their time looking at flies, perhaps, if there were any in that room.
I mean, them and Mumbai Indians, I think, were the two teams with least activity.
Yeah.
Because they didn't need to do much. MI, again, they plugged whatever gaps were there in the team by doing some good trades.
Yeah.
And for Punjab Kings, there were no gaps to plug because, again, they had a very strong squad. It was just a case of maybe adding a couple of players to their squad, which is exactly what
For them, in fact, it was quite a case of them watching paint dry.
Exactly. Or watching grass being cut, or grass grow, for that matter. So I think, for them, it is a missed opportunity, but I think they've also built a strong core for the next 2 years. So I think they may just end up having another.
As far as their auction strategy is concerned, I don't think there was enough room to make a lot of misses or have a lot of misses.
How many more Aussies can they bring in?
They, by the way, did sign up an Aussie, right?
Yeah.
Cooper Connolly, yeah. There's an Owen, there's a Connolly, there's an Ellis. No, Ellis is with CSK.
But yes.
Erstwhile PBKS player.
They've got Marcus Stoinis.
They got Stoinis, yeah.
There's a lot of Aussie influence over there, obviously.
Yeah.
I think Bartlett also, no?
Bartlett was unsold, no?
I don't remember. Just Shivam can check that for us if my memory serves me right. But
no, Spencer was definitely unsold.
But Spencer was part of KKR. So
GT, then KKR, and then I think he remained unsold.
So we'll have to check. Is Xavier Bartlett there? No. He was. Oh, there he is. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
I remember. There's more Aussies. More Aussies. Get all the Aussies. For the win.
Adelaide Kings, Australian Kings, whatever you want to call them.
It's all applicable. But again, speaking of, and this one, you're talking about T20 cricket, near misses. Hi, Delhi Capitals.
About the women's. In fact, it holds true for both. Because when you win 4 out of 4 in at the start of the IPL, you have to you use the word bottle job. I think Delhi did that better than RCB would have done at any point, and there's no pride in taking that. In having done that. And so it was a bottle job being done by the men's team, but perhaps the women's team even more. How do you lose 3 straight finals? They've been easily the best team across all 3. I would say perhaps season 1 Mumbai were giving them competition, toe to toe. Second season, third season, really it had to be just Delhi's. In fact, the kind of team and the kind of dominance that the WPL side has showed under Meg Lanning, also this time around change in leadership, there won't be no any Meg Lanning.
Yeah, she's on the UP Warriors.
So under her leadership, you had a very phenomenal opening pair. You had things right. You saw her in tears also at the end of the final. But 3 straight finals against Mumbai Indians, I remember last year was a case of being up against the heavyweights, just mentality wise, and you just didn't show up in that final. There were a flurry of wickets that fell in the chase. But this year again, you weren't that shaky in the final, but clearly some of those chills down the spine, I think this team could feel once over, all over again. And 3 straight times is a big opportunity lost. I worry now for the franchise if they can repeat the good work that they've done over 3 straight years. It can be a huge mental block for any team to be able to produce a 4th year. They've done what an Arsenal have been doing in the Premier League.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because again I was going to say it's like three-peat of second place finishes. It's Arsenal all over again. But seriously, I mean, I did feel for the franchise a bit, because I'm like, every single year I look at that team and I'm like, they're contenders.
Yeah.
They have such a strong team. You've got a Meg Lanning, who's leading Australia to all those titles.
There's a Jemmy, there's a Meg Lanning, there's Marizan Cap. There's such
a very good squad.
Very, very good squad. Again,
Shefali as well.
Yeah, just the right ingredients that you need. Her and Shefali, Meg and Shefali, what an opening partnership you would get. And just was unbelievable that it could happen thrice in a row. You thought, they said 3-time lucky. Well, it can be 3-time unlucky as well.
Yeah, and that was unfortunate. It'll be interesting to see how it is that they do this time around, because again, as you mentioned, the change in leadership, they brought in Jemima to be the captain. So obviously they're trying to look to build something for the future. I think Lanning was their win now captain.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that win now didn't come, so they've turned to Jemmy, and I think that's a good call. I think if you're looking for an Indian captain, couldn't have found anyone better unless you went shopping, and I doubt you would have found too many players within the auction pool, even if it was a mega auction. And to be fair, most of the ones somehow went to the UP Warriors.
Yeah.
Very aggressive.
Yeah, they had that kind of pool as well.
Ah.
Yeah, they had that kind of.
Yeah, spare a thought for Abhishek Nair. He's been involved in two auctions where he
auctions,
just
yeah.
had all the money to spend. For UP Warriors as well as for KKR later on. He's like, all the money, I have all of it. Cam Green, 25 crores, no problem. Patirana, 18 crores, no problem. Get them all. But yeah, I think for Delhi Capitals, bit of a missed opportunity. Interesting to see how it is they rebuild, because again, I think this year's WPL as well, they do have a good side. It does look like a good side. But this is a reset year because every single team now has had to kind of
go through
the mega auction phase,
Yeah.
in essence.
Yeah. There's one more thing that we can talk about before we dive into the questions. Sticking again with the game's shortest format. Not all went fine actually. Yes, you're the defending champions when it comes to T20 World Cup. Yes, you've done well all through bilaterals this year.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to, we take pride in India having a very good talent pool, that the pipeline always has something to serve up, and you feel that it's a robust unit. Individually, yes, there are so many players who knock the door, who impress us in the IPL. But when it came to those units being formed out of those talent pool that you have, there were two different units that were put to the test, and both did not impress.
I know what you're referring to. The Asia Cups.
Asia Cups.
After the main Asia Cup, you had an emerging Asia Cup, and you had, of course, the under-19 Asia Cup. And in both of those cases, well, India fell short. And dare I say, woefully short. In the emerging Asia Cup, yeah, you ended up not even making it to the final.
You lost to Bangladesh.
You lost to Bangladesh in a super over. So that makes
right
it
on
worse.
cue, you have Jitesh over there, who was the leader of the side.
The shot of the tournament.
But played the most horrible shot, a shot that, you talk about batters not being able to sleep because of a bad shot. In Virat's case, I remember perhaps it was from the series last year when he tried playing that horrible shot to Santner and ended up yorking himself. It wasn't a ball that should have been a yorker, but he made it look like a yorker. At that time, we saying that we said that this is a shot that perhaps won't let him sleep, because it may be the worst shot that he may have played. Much worse than the troubles that he's had to balls outside the off stump on that fifth line channel. But this particular shot from Jitesh Sharma in the final would perhaps also be the shot that may not have put him to bed very easily, or even still might give him the nightmare.
May have gotten him dropped from the squad as well. I know there's a lot of talk about, and it's valid, that you ended up pivoting with your wicketkeeper batter role, so that definitely played a part.
You wouldn't see that shot wasn't going to help you.
Yeah.
If the team had somewhat won, then maybe it would have been brushed under the carpet, but the team also exited.
Exactly. So that was a miss. And then, of course, I think bigger than that, the under-19. I mean, you would think, looking at that squad, saying, there's a lot of very good young talent there. There's a Matre,
Suryavanshi.
You ended up not just losing to Pakistan in the final, you were hammered.
Shellacking.
Absolutely shellacked. I mean, you're chasing 300 odd and you didn't even come close.
191 runs if I remember that right.
Exactly, and you were playing that ODI like a T20. That in itself showed the inexperience really creeping in, because they could have played percentage cricket and chased down that total, if you ask me. I don't think a 7 target...
If not chased down, it was a very competitive total. Let's make no bones about the fact that a 320, 30, whatever that it was a big total.
Or 300,
350, yeah, exactly. But what you can what you can look at and establish is that yes, the Indian team's approach was not right, and there were too many batters over there, which showed the lack of temperament needed in big chases. Of course, the good thing with them is, right on top at the start of the new year, you get an opportunity to redeem yourself.
Exactly.
There is the under-19 World Cup that starts. It's a good opportunity to redeem yourself, and we wish that young team a lot of luck in the tournament that starts I think around the 14th or the 15th of January. It should be a good opportunity to redeem yourself. But yeah, the fact that we now as a result don't have one, not two, but 3 Asia Cup trophies missing in the cabinet.
And
That
at least
actually
we
is
can
the funny
complain-
bit.
At least we can complain about the fact that the men's senior Asia Cup wasn't given to us. The other two, you A, didn't reach the final, B, you reached the final and lost. And I think what it also did was kind of expunge that myth, I dare say, which is perpetuated about we can boast 3-4 top quality squads. Whilst I agree that on paper you can, look, a game of cricket is still won by good team combinations. I may have 11 great players, but they need not necessarily make a great team.
Yeah.
Are they complementing each other role-wise? Is everyone fitting into a bigger team plan? All of these kind of things. If you're talking about purely individual quality, I think India do produce a lot. And if I looked at that team sheet was full chock-a-block of individual talent.
Yeah.
It's just it didn't gel together as a team, and that's the thing. It's one thing talking about from a pure talent perspective that we can field 3-4 teams, which is absolutely right. What is a problem though is then making those teams competitive. It's not necessarily always going to be the case, and we've seen this even with our senior teams. You know, how many times you don't have a Bumrah playing or someone playing, and you suddenly your bowling looks a little less potent. That is a fact. It does happen. You can sometimes actually reach that stage where you will potentially, you'll have those hiccups and everything. But yeah, I mean, this was just one of those things that made it tough to watch. But again, as you said, Under-19 World Cup coming up, one really hopes that you can actually redeem yourselves, because if you do that, then everyone will forget about the Asia Cup. You get the Under-19 World Cup, you're good to go.
Yeah.
That'll be a very good start to the year for us as well.
Okay, before we start with the comments, as we had told our family members, we would just want to touch upon other sports as well, beyond just the cricket field.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about misses there, PSG
Okay.
could have had the best here if they had won a treble as well as the newly launched FIFA Club World Cup.
Yeah.
I know not a tournament which matters much in the grand scheme of things now, but everyone was hyping them, saying, oh, they'll win this, best team in the year. Got spanked 3-0 by Chelsea in the final.
Yeah.
And FYI, that was a Chelsea team that were 3-0 up in the first half.
Yeah.
They took their foot off the gas in the second half, and PSG could still not score. That, a big miss. Honorable mention, of course, Arsenal bottling yet another Premier League. They look on course to win it again this year, but I'm not saying anything. They've led the Christmas table for the past 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And every single time. And of course, don't forget, they have a very crucial match tonight. Aston Villa.
Yeah.
If Aston Villa win that, they go level on points.
They've already beaten them once.
Exactly. A lot of Arsenal fans saying, oh, that 11 games winning streak doesn't matter. We're not there. I'm like, bro, you were there.
Yeah.
You lost a match to them.
Yeah.
Are you forgetting things? You might just be there twice now if they end up winning somehow.
That's true.
And they're a very, very, very good team. Other near misses, Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Very unfortunate. Honorable mention in that also. Big missed opportunity, and F1 fans will understand what I'm talking about. McLaren CEO Zach Brown. Lando Norris's driver wins the world title, and I've heard, obviously team radios and all at those points, I've heard iconic ones.
Yeah.
I've heard when Seb Vettel won his first, you've got the guy telling him, you just wait, sunshine, you're going to be crowned world champion. Or you have when Hamilton won his 7th, he's saying, this is for all the kids out there, believe in your dreams.
Yeah.
You know what Zach Brown says? He turns around and he goes, Lando, is this the world championship heartline? I wanted to be like Vincent Van Gogh and cut my own ear off. Because that's the way you're celebrating. This is the first title your team has won. First World Drivers' Championship that your team has won since 2008.
Yeah.
That's what you choose to go with 17 years later. Oh man, that's a big missed opportunity. Big missed opportunity. Other than that, I mean, look, if you're looking at maybe an Alcaraz or maybe Sinner not getting the world number one.
I was about to turn my attention to tennis only. I can't really put my finger on it and say that number 25 for Djokovic went missing because
he never came close.
Exactly, he never came close. He perhaps will not get close as well. Perhaps last year was the best opportunity when he won the Olympic medal as well, and he was looking good at that time, but nothing beyond that. Let's be honest about it. Another big miss, and I agree with you. While with Sinner, I'm happy with the fact that at least one gets to keep the number 1 ranking, the other has the ATP finals. So there's some sort of equality or some sort of balancing act that happened over on the tennis court. But I'm worried about Neeraj Chopra. There were a lot more misses.
And there were a lot of near misses. Just fractional. I know he got the 90 meter, But the fact that he couldn't get a podium finish in the Diamond League final.
And look at where he finished in the World Championships. That's not a good sign. You've seen his powers sort of wane this year. Consistency hasn't been his best friend, and injuries have managed to
his injuries is good point you mentioned that, because I think he was chronically competing with some kind of groin problem, which will deprive you of a lot of consistent strength when it comes to his
injuries just seem to have become his pillion rider.
Exactly.
And that's a pillion rider I want him to get rid of. There's only so much that he can do about it. But a lot of missed opportunities for Neeraj, and that 8th place finish. Remember, it was the first time since the Olympic gold medal in Tokyo in 21 that he finished outside the top 2.
Exactly.
That's a telling thing over there. I think 23, 26 competitions he'd gone with only top 2 finishes, and there are a lot more misses than hits for Neeraj this year. So that's something I wanted to point out.
And don't forget, 25 also is a crucial year. You've got he will of course be participating in stuff like the Asian Games, the World Athletics, all these things which you do have direct implications on your Olympics as well.
Yeah.
So I'd really want him to be at his best, because again I think he's one athlete who has made track and field cool in India.
Yeah.
He made track and field, being a track and field athlete, cool, desirable, something that people thought, oh, I can do this as well.
Yeah.
Because other than that, if you remove Neeraj from India's Olympic history, it's nothing really in track and field.
Yeah.
Really nothing.
It's your first medal in track and field you got.
For independent India.
Yeah,
Yes.
independent
Yes.
India,
Yes. That's true. So that's the thing. I really want him to kind of rebound and retire. If he has to retire eventually, let it be on his terms, not forced out due to injuries or something like that, because it is unfortunate that...
Just wish him a healthier and a injury-free 2026. That should be the thing with Neeraj Chopra, because we know if he's got his injury in place, if he's got his body in place and he can stay injury free. We know that this was also the year where he partnered with a new coach, and he changed his technique. Perhaps it paid dividends as well in Doha, where he breached the 90-meter mark as well. So yeah, if he can get the technique right, the body is in place, then certainly he should be back on track as well.
Absolutely. So shall we see what it is our family members have to say then about some misses? And let's start with a very cheeky one from Vishal, where he's saying that turning Gill into a T20 star, opportunity lost.
I get the joke, Vishal.
And even here we don't leave Gill alone. I'm part of that. I understand that. Very funny.
Trust me guys, there were a few jokes that while we were preparing for today's dugout, there were a fair few jokes about Indian cricket that were cracked, but of course that remains best off camera.
Exactly. You've got let's see where it is.
Okay, I think who's that? Shum, can we just zoom in a bit? There's somebody who disagreed with us with the 2-2 scoreline. I was just trying to find that comment.
Mayu Chubb.
Mayu, I think there's Mayu says that for me 2-2 was good, but series lost to South Africa at home was shocking.
I agree.
So slight disagreement only from Mayu.
It was shocking. It was shocking. But even I think a 2-2 was good, but it could have been better, because again that was a very weak England team.
DPG 2011 says that one thing that should have been a miss is the Asia Cup. We shouldn't have played it.
I mean, I understand. I've heard this sentiment from a lot of people, even in office, by the way, guys, because people do come up to us and decide that, chalo sports wale hai, let's talk to them about sports.
Yeah.
And one common consensus I've gotten from a lot of people was that if you didn't want to be sportsmanlike, didn't want to shake their hands, then why did you play? And I understand it. I may not agree with it. I don't think you should be pulling out, but I do get it. So I do understand where it is that DPG 2011 also.
Yeah, for that matter, in fact, mention to what actually did go missing as well. It was the handshakes.
Handshakes went missing. Common decorum went missing. Remember 6-0 and Arshdeep and even Bumrah.
Yeah, just
all of that.
This sort of.
Decorum
but again,
missing.
those were tense times in.
Tense times? I remember they were so dramatic. It became more interesting than some of the cricketing action, which was actually dross. Let's be frank. The cricketing action was bad. You watched it for the drama.
Yeah.
MZone9297 with a big take saying that Suryakumar Yadav is the reason India will not win a World Cup in 2026.
Oh, I just hope M Zone 9297 that's not true.
I really hope that's not true. Dhruv Dwivedi is being naughty, so I'm not going to take what he's saying. But let's scroll down so that we can take some other comments. Freaking Awesome says the reason why the New Zealand Test Series whitewash hurts India so the most is that before that series whitewash, New Zealand have not won more than 2 away tests in a calendar year. And they ended up winning 3 on the trot in India.
I remember what Sunny G had also said to us at that time. He said between the 2 series, he's going to hold the New Zealand series as a lower point and not the South Africa series because here you lost 2, there you lost 3.
And it's fair. I think that's a nice way of looking at it because again, 2 tests you can envisage losing, especially against the world champions in the format. But 3 tests against New Zealand, a New Zealand who are well out of contention, who just played party poopers. Let's be frank. That's exactly what they did. They just came and ruined your chances. They're like, we're going, we'll take you down with us.
हम तो डूबेंगे सनम, तुझे भी ले डूबेंगे.
Exactly. Scroll lower down because M Zone is spamming a lot. Let's see. No, these
it's okay. Mayu and M Zone are just talking amongst themselves.
Syed Nizamuddin says, did they give too much money to Pathirana, KKR? I mean, look, we've had that discussion. It comes down to auction dynamics. I agree. 18 crores would be a lot more than I would pay.
Yeah.
But he has the potential to be a death bowler, a bit of mystery. There's a reason other teams were also in for him and why the thing went that high. So that always happens.
Can we go down a bit?
We've taken that. A lot of family members love having conversations among themselves nowadays. I really like that. No, we've taken that.
We've taken DPG.
Abhishek Rawat says that for me the biggest miss was that England lost the Ashes again. They have a good team. They were 105 ahead and lost 1 at that time and still managed to lose from there. And this is the worst Oz team since 2011, definitely. Abhishek, you made a good point. I understand that because again, whilst a lot of people
how is this the worst team? I don't understand.
No, but Australia, I'm sorry, if you look at their batting also, I know it's a very unpopular opinion.
Look at that bowling unit.
The bowling unit is good, but the batting unit is actually weak. Aside from Head and Smith, can you trust anyone considerably to do the job?
I think you can trust a Carey.
Carey has been great. I agree. Okay, that's 3. But a Bo Webster has been hit or miss. Khwaja has been hit or miss. Actually, if you look at it, that team, Labuschagne has been
Labuschagne has been,
So actually, if you look at it, if England's bowling was a little bit more innovative, I think they could have had the measure of them. The fact that you are 3-1 down now is as much due to bad tactics from England. I don't think this Australia team were as good as England made them look. I do agree. I'm not saying weakest since 2011 like abroad, but this team, if 2018-19 India were playing them, they were there for the taking. Let's put it that way.
Kevin says that watching from Hong Kong, thank you Kevin, says biggest miss would be not beating South Africa at home.
I agree.
Yeah.
Arkham with a very interesting question saying, where are Sid and Nikhil? Show seems incomplete without Sid. Well, Sid will be gone for a while. Nikhil will be back sooner than that.
Yeah.
Although if you guys really want Sid that much, we might just ask him to join us virtually. I don't think he'd say no. It's not something he does very well.
We're getting love from Guwahati. That is Raja Jain. Thank you, Raja.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
We always like that. Freaking Awesome then says that the Asia Cup is boring in T20 eyes because Sri Lanka and Pak are weak in this format. At least they can give a better fight in ODIs. No, I disagree. Look at how dominant India were in the 2023 Asia Cup.
Yeah.
In T20s, the advantage that you have for being a weaker team is that it's a lottery format.
Yeah.
So you can actually sometimes swing it, especially if you get conditions which are favourable to you.
Okay.
But in ODI cricket, the gulf is bad. Do you not remember the final, 2023?
Yeah.
It was wound up in half an hour. Siraj just running through them like, my good God.
Yeah.
And I remember the India Park games also from that year. It was not very competitive.
Yeah.
Not competitive at all. So I do disagree with you in that sense a little bit, but fair enough.
Let's take Siddharth's comment. He says, hello guys, what are your views on 2 transfers from this year in the Premier League who are throwback footballers, Cherki and Ekiteki?
Cherki, I was a little surprised that City went for him because he's a very flair kind of a player. Exactly what Pep Guardiola
I
does
was
not
mad.
want.
I was mad to see that there was great. See, I'd seen that Lyon game. That transfer happened after the epic, that you perhaps the best game of the year.
Yeah.
Perhaps the best game of the year has to be that one, Lyon versus Manchester United. The second leg of that contest was the quarter-final, if memory serves me right. And Cherki had scored a crucial goal. I think the third goal had come from Cherki. And guess just how he had played, and I had seen both those legs. I was scared of the man, and you as a United fan, you didn't want the ball to go to his feet because he always gave you signs of causing trouble. And City went after him, and I think City found the man in many ways.
30 million, I can understand why they got him. It was his last year of contract. So Leon had to sell him now or lose him for a free next year. And if Cherki was available on a free, good God. But Ekitike is a very interesting one you mentioned because, again, a lot of focus obviously went to Isak. But Ekitike has been phenomenal. He's really been outshone. It reminds me.
Just this weekend, I think he didn't score. Otherwise, he's been amongst
scoring.
the goal.
And he had a bit of a lull in between when they were trying to integrate Isak. In fact, you know what it reminds me of? It's interesting that he mentions this. It reminds me of the same window. 2011 it was when Liverpool sold Torres to Chelsea.
Yeah.
And they brought in two strikers in that window. Obviously, all of the focus went on Andy Carroll.
Yeah.
Because he cost 35 million and was the direct replacement. The other striker who they brought in that window flew under the radar a little bit. Can you name him?
I'm just trying to recall.
Luis Suarez.
Yeah.
He was signed in that same window.
Yeah.
My point is, Ekitike could
after the World Cup.
No, it was not after the World Cup. It was after the World Cup. Yeah, 2010 was the World Cup. So 2010-11. So Suarez flew under the radar, but ended up becoming the far more influential player. I think Ekitike can be that person because I think Isak, all a good striker. But at Newcastle also he was streaky.
Yeah,
he was always streaky, and he needs a team built around him. Right now, Liverpool are not built around him; they're built around.
See, at the moment they're getting much more out of an Ekitike and Gakpo. Gakpo, I think, is just. I don't know if there's an injury concern with him. He's not.
I don't think Liverpool fans will complain. He was woeful at one point.
Yeah.
I think more so than him, though. I think who they're getting more out of finally is Wirtz.
Yeah.
Finally.
Florian Wirtz. Yeah.
But I do think they have better attackers. They could get in a Chiesa as well. So. And Chiesa's been good for off the bench. It's very surprising that Slot doesn't trust him as much as he trusts Mr. Predictable himself, Gakpo. I'll cut on to my left and then run down dead alleys.
Yeah.
So I think those are two good signings. I think they're two signings who flew under the radar, but I think now are looking like signings of the season. Yeah. Absolutely. No two ways about it. Abhishek Rawat says, what about John Cena's retirement? Technically not a sport, but I do agree. Big missed opportunity because they bottled it badly. Still, thank you, John.
Okay, on that, we come to an end of our last dugout of the year. We now meet you on the 1st of January. That's when the relationship continues. We take it to new heights, hopefully in 2026 with you guys. We also have the last super chat of the year, perhaps. Let's take that one for
says that RCB women have a weak batting lineup and now even Perry is gone. I agree. Their batting without Perry does look weaker.
Yeah.
No Perry there, could be trouble.
Any team for that matter. No Perry is a problem.
No party.
No Perry, no party.
Anyhow, we'll take your leave. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this last edition of the Dugout. We know that you're probably also getting geared up for your end of year plans, as are we.
Yeah.
But we'll see you again next year and lots of sports coming up next year. So plenty more dugouts.
2026, in fact, it excites us. Shane and I can speak on behalf of our two members that aren't here in front of the camera right now. In fact, more crucially, the members who do all of this stuff that we are able to bring to you from behind the camera. We as a sporting unit, as a team that loves covering sport, watching sport for you guys, are excited about the prospect of 2026. It's a sport heavy year. It's not just a cricket heavy year, it's a sport heavy year. And we look forward to doing all that coverage here on Sports Today for you guys. So be with us. Let's take this relationship forward. We wish you a very safe, sound, and a sensational New Year's Eve. We see you now in 2026.
Also, Argamas, to answer your question, yes. Bye-bye.
Yeah. See you then. Bye-bye from the two of us. See you
and
now.
The other members who are not here. Also, our producers behind the screen. Shivam, Pawan, and of course, Sankalp. So, see you. Tata. End
Bye-bye.
end the year the way we always end the dugout.
Of course, that doesn't change in 2026 either. So yeah, bringing an end to this particular edition in the classic way that we always do. It's good night, Nandri, Shubhratri, Shabba Khair. Eat your vegetables.
Don't trouble your mother. Subscribe to Sports Today.